Hello, true duelists. It's YGO Strat's Yu-Gi-Oh! Single Card History. We're going to be talking about some of the cards that have impacted Yu-Gi-Oh! Throughout the years, and some of the other ones that didn't. Today's card, the worst offender to dodge the ban list from 2019 through to 2021, according to some people. It's Guardragon Elpy. Guardragon Elpy was first released in Savage Strike in 2019 as a super rare, with only one reprint to date as I make this video, as a prismatic secret rare in the 2020 Megatons in the year of 2089. Also, I lied to you. For time on the ban list, this card was at 3 for what most would agree was too damn long, being used and abused right up until the July 2021 ban list where it was finally banned, like many had been asking for because, oh man, Dragon Link has been a deck. A dark attribute dragon-type Link 1 monster with 1000 attack, its materials to summon are any level 4 or lower dragon monster, its arrow points left, and its effect reads: you cannot special summon monsters except dragon monsters. During your main phase, you can special summon one dragon monster from your hand or deck to your zone that 2 or more Link monsters point to. You can only use this effect of Guardragon Elpy once per turn. You can only special summon Guardragon Elpy once per turn. Elpy is the type of card that Konami prints from time to time that reminds us, oh yeah, this game's about dragons. Stand Dark Magician as much as you want. One monster is the icon for this series, and it ain't that stick-holding fuck. It's the Blue Eyes White Dragon. And that's what Yu-Gi-Oh's about, baby. Even our non-dragons are dragons. That's just how it is. And this little fucker gets all of them out, or at least the ones that are dragons that exist in your hand or main deck. This is an absurd piece of support for like any type, let alone one as diverse and strong and versatile as the dragon type has been. While it does require some setup, it's not like it's especially crazy difficult hard in order to get the link arrows needed for you to use its effect. If you aren't aware, this requires a free main monster zone that is 2 separate link monsters that both have an arrow pointing to it. If it makes it easier to visualize, something like this. Elpy is on the right, the zone next to it is empty, and Pisty is in the middle. This will come up later as I assure you, but that zone in the middle with 2 arrows pointing to it, that's what Elpy needs. And Pisty and Aggro Paint. But between cards like World Legacy Guardragon being able to move a Link monster to a more preferable zone, and the fact that Link climbing is just the easiest thing to do in the world in this game, it's not hard to get the zones needed to trigger this effect. I'll also mention quickly the other 2 in the terrible trio, Pisty and Aggro Paint. Pisty is like Elpy word for word, but will summon a dragon from the grave or banished zone instead of from hand or deck, and Aggro Paint is the Link 2 that needs the same requirement of 2 Link monsters pointing to one zone, but will summon any dragon from the extra deck. You can go ahead and consider this video, the Aggro Paint video as much as is the Elpy one. This one and Elpy are together on the ban list for a reason, is I think the main point I'm getting to. The biggest offender everyone is thinking about for these cards here is of course Dragon Link, but surprisingly enough, there were other decks that played them as well. 2 of them really. But that's more than 0. Going over them quickly before getting into the meat that is Dragon Link, Guardragon Elpy saw play as part of the infamous Guardragon package, because even as an engine, dragons are just that good. Able to cheat out any dragon monster from the deck, this card found its home even in the likes of pendulum decks, already commonly maining a card like Supreme King Dragon Darkworm, and even Dragon Shrine as the dragon-only Foolish Burial to help turbo that card out. The deck wasn't lacking materials to summon out Elpy, or the means to access it. And because of this, once players got rolling, Elpy could give them access to the likes of Destrudo for more extension, and by link climbing into Elpy's brother in crime Aggro Paint, decks would have access to some amazingly good end boards. By using Aggro Paint to freely climb into, say, Odd Eyes Vortex for some extra negates, they could link off Elpy and Aggro Paint for Hieratic Spheres, meaning the Guardragon combo would by itself end on an Omnigate and a bounce, and on top of that would often use Sphere's effect to float into a Morphage Sloth, adding a Scythe Lock on legs to the end board. An effective strategy, this would see play for quite some time, even if only at more of a regional level than a YCS one. The other non-Dragon Link deck that played Elpy was of course Danger Thunder Guardragon, a pile of engines thrown in a trench coat disguised in one deck. This used some of the best tools of its time to make some truly nasty boards. Obvious engines include the Dangers, offering draw power and link climbing in one. Thunder Dragons gave them access to easy advantage, and most importantly Colossus, a mistake on legs, and the dragon package like baby Chaos Dragons and even a small Crusadia one to help get things rolling. All of this combined to make an almost entirely monster lineup of a deck. that spat out Link monsters with ease, and especially with the Guardragon engine. Making Elpy with anything from the baby Chaos Dragons to Crusadia Draco, Elpy could get out Omni Dragon Brotor, which could further search out things like Chaos Dragon Levianeer for further extension, things like Hand Rips, all before making Agripane to cheat out the man himself, Hot Red Dragon Burning Abyss. This, coupled with the easy spam of level 8s, meant the deck could end on a board of number 38, Colossus, Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, and Hieratic Spheres without too much trouble. All thanks in no small part to Elpy allowing dragons on command and Agribane for the powerhouse that is Mr. Abyss. It's worth noting that there were other decks playing similar builds, such as a more pure Crusadia Guardragon, using the full Crusadia package, not just a small few number of monsters as an engine, and with some players even opting for a Blue Eyes package as well. Though none of these were as consistently powerful as Thunder Dragon variants were at the time. That's the power of Colossus for you, I suppose. But August of 2019 was of course when Elpy found its long-term home. The release of the Rocket Revolt structure deck would give Dragons all sorts of tools to shape itself into the Dragon Good Stuff pile that has been around ever since, known as Dragon Link. Taking all of the other decks playing Dragon's package as a strong part of a deck, Dragon Link decided to go all in on the Dragons for a very resilient and very consistent deck. The new Rocket Tracer gave access to a free Link 2 or level 8 Synchro more or less by itself, and with Rocket's native emergency teleport and quick launch, the deck was infamous for the number of extenders it could play, such as Nactovision and even Dragon-made engines with Chamber and Tidy. All sorts of things to fetch, revive, and spam dragons as needed to build some powerful, generically strong end boards. This is a deck that evolved through the years, adapting to ban lists and new cards, and even as I'm making this video, it still has variants going around at locals and even regional levels. Hell, it just topped Brazil Nationals not too long ago. One of the earliest lists for Dragon Links I can find is this absolute mutt of a deck, maining a dinosaur package of Soul Eating Oviraptor, Misk, Durak, Aeolo, and Carboneton. This gave them access to Flame Veil Guard, which could be used either as a tuner or just for link material for, of course, your guard dragons of choice. And with the smaller rocket engine, that would ultimately become larger and more common. The deck would soon find more stable footing, going on a larger rocket engine, going all in on those tracers, and even abusing new toys like Striker Dragon for more consistency to accommodate for the loss of Agripane on the ban list. Commonly used at the time, though, and what other decks had not been commonly doing, was using Elpy and Pisty to get out Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. Pisty being the third of the absurd for Guard Dragon Link monsters, again, getting back cards from the banished or grave pile. This meant that you could use Elpy to summon out Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, use its effect to revive something, and because this was pre-errata for Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, you could then link it off, summon it back with Pisty, and then use its effect a second time. This made for very, very easy link climbing, and was a very strong play for the deck at the time. And this sort of trend continues for quite a while. Other tools that would eventually be picked up and ultimately abused to make Elpy, Starleash Seyfert could be used with great success with the baby Chaos Dragons. Its ability to tribute itself to get the Black Dragon Cola Serpent meant that you could get a free summon and then search when Link summoned, which was very, very potent with Elpy and Pisty. And eventually, Dragon-made players got to be incredibly upset because their waifu card, which was already overpriced for its meta relevance, became meta relevant, and their Stratos of sorts soared up to like $80 a pop or so. Also, that Dragon Link could have one more piece of extension and sometimes a bit of disruption, depending on whether their Dragon-made tidying was on the field or already in the graveyard. And of course, Chamber's a great material for Elpy too if need be. Dragon Link's dominance in this time is no small feat. It's one of the best decks of this time. Not the best deck per se, but at the top tables, I can assure you. Elpy is somewhat hard to define by itself, if I can be honest. It was most infamous as part of the Guard Dragon package, Agripane especially. Cheating out dragons from the deck was always going to lead to some broken things. Agripane especially, because cheating out from the extra deck's even more absurd. But they made a very notable impact in the meta for as long as they were legal, and would certainly make an impact if they came back. Overall, Elpy is the poster child for dragon bias from Konami in Yu-Gi-Oh! Imagine any other type getting a card of this caliber, and then continue to imagine it, because unless that type you're thinking of is exactly Warrior, you're not gonna get it. Sorry to all my fish type fans, fish Elpy will never be real. But Elpy is, and fetching any dragon from the deck is always going to be good in the worst of cases, and broken broken, and the other type of worst of cases, because it's broken and that's bad. Because Elpy is a great link, and one Dragon fans will be clamoring for as long as Dragon Link has players, which, going off the last like 4 years, is apparently always. It's eternal. And so that's our look at Yu-Gi-Oh! Single card history, Guardragon Elpy. Stay tuned for our next video, and feel free to suggest some cards to review or what type of video you'd like to see. Don't forget to like, and as always, subscribe to YGO Strats to impress your smoking Italian wife, and so that you too can be a true duelist.